Timing your spring lawn care task can be tricky because the weather this time of year is quite a bit unpredictable. You can time your pre-emergent just right and still be way off. And then you can think you were way off but really timed it just right. Lawn care is like a game of chess between you and the elements, but there are only really a few simple moves you need to know to keep from making some massive mistakes. I was looking back at a video I did recently about my pre-emergent schedule and latest application. I'll leave it linked below for you. But at the time, I knew I had timed that application perfectly, all things considered. But it wasn't until now that I realized just how perfect I had nailed it. I'll tell you about that more in just a second. There are some guidelines we can follow when it comes to correctly applying our spring pre-emergent if we're not going to stay on a schedule that keeps us covered at all times. Like, you want to make sure you apply it before your 5-day average soil temperature reaches 55 degrees. You can measure that temperature yourself with a soil thermometer, or you can get a rough idea from some websites online. Here's the problem with that though. If you get too fixated on just this one thing and you don't do it the right way, you may already be too late. Think about where you get most of the warm season weeds like crabgrass in your lawn. I bet it's not towards the center of it. And I also bet the central part of your lawn is where you'd most likely go to get a soil temp. And that's a problem. And that website you used online for a rough idea, that's all it is, a rough idea. Now think about all the hard surfaces you have around your house. Patios, stones, driveways, sidewalks, brick walls. As the days are getting longer and the sunshine beats down on them more, those hard surfaces are absorbing a lot more heat. Then that heat radiates out into surrounding areas of the lawn, raising the soil temps there higher, faster. All right, let's go back to where you typically get those warm season weeds. I don't know about you, but I usually get them along those hard surfaces. So if you're timing your spring pre-emergent application around soil temps from the center part of your lawn, you could already be behind. You better make sure you're taking those soil temps from those areas that heat up first, or those weed seeds could have already germinated. Many of us have been experiencing quite unseasonably warm temperatures lately. That pre-emergent application that I applied back towards the beginning of February felt like it was out in no man's land, despite being the best I could do after missing my January app. But with record daytime highs last week, my hard surfaces around the house have been heating up like an oven. Heck, I've got some areas of Bermuda already trying to come out of dormancy. That is insane for February. If I would have waited until the middle to latter part of March to apply my pre-emergent like my schedule tells me to, I would have been paying for it big time later on down the road. Your pre-emergent isn't the only spring task that is temperature dependent. You better stay tuned to the weather forecast for this next tip too. If you've got Bermuda grass, you may be tired of looking at that brown dormant lawn. And these warm temperatures might be tempting you to do what you can to speed up the green up. We do that with scalping, lowering our mower blade to its lowest setting and bagging up all the clippings to remove as much dormant material as possible. That helps open the soil up to sunshine, heat, and airflow. Aside from other benefits, we primarily do this in the spring to help the Bermuda grass wake up from dormancy and start the mowing season off on the right foot. I'll warn you though, you don't want to get too anxious with this task. You might regret it later if you do it too early, and here's why. If you scalp too soon, you're leaving any new grass that pops up vulnerable to freezing temperatures, which could damage it. Not to mention, removing that dormant canopy too early is also just inviting weeds to move in. Yeah, you might be sick and tired of looking at it, but that thick dormant lawn that you worked so hard on last season is now working for you to prevent spring weeds. So why mess up a good thing? Just exercise a little patience and wait until after your last forecasted frost or freeze date for the year. That's different for all of us. Just because someone is scalping in Texas doesn't mean you should be in Tennessee. There are a number of websites online that you can look at that will give you a general idea for when that date might be in your area. Waiting till after the last frost or freeze isn't just a good thing to do for scalping. It'll help you out for this next spring must do as well. Your Bermuda grass isn't really going to hit the ground running until temperatures get much warmer day in and day out. I'm talking with highs in the 80s and 90s and lows in the 60s and 70s. Until then, there is no reason to feed your lawn. Throwing fertilizer down on mostly dormant Bermuda is a total waste. You want to wait until the grass is actively growing and has turned about 75% green, so there's actually something there to use the nutrients that you've applied. If you look at most of your extension offices, they're going to tell you to wait until it has fully greened up to fertilize in spring. Otherwise, all you're doing is feeding any spring weeds that may have already popped up. Also, an unexpected late frost or freeze could send you right back into dormancy and back to square one. You'll also be headed back to the store for another bag of fertilizer since you wasted the first one. If you haven't figured it out yet, getting impatient and doing things in your lawn just because you see someone else online doing them is a horrible idea. If you jump the gun, you could end up flushing your time and money down the toilet. Appreciate you joining me. Hope to see you next time.